Bonjour, Dana Hichone. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Apache Stealth. Tonight's campfire story, The Old Medicine by D'akhenya Montoya. Whitechapel Ministry was a beautiful building in the suburbs of Virginia Beach, Virginia. It was a beautiful Sunday morning as the two pastors greeted the congregation as they came for services. Pastor Deben was a bit nervous, as this was his first day at Whitechapel. The head pastor was a very kind man and had made Pastor Deben feel at ease. As the two men greeted the incoming people, Pastor Deben overheard two women in deep discussion about alternative healing. Mrs. Reece had seen a local doctor concerning an issue she had been suffering, and the head pastor had given her prayers for a speedy recovery. Mrs. Hopkins had learned that Mrs. Reece had gone to a holistic healing as the local doctors were having trouble treating her. When Mrs. Reece was cured, many of the congregation were troubled about the way she had been healed.
"That's demon magic,"
said Mrs. Hopkins as she waved her finger.
"The Bible says we're not supposed to use that stuff."
"It's not demon magic," replied Mrs. Reece.
"It's just old medicine, and I was healed. Thank God."
After the congregation was settled down inside Whitechapel, Pastor Deben could see that a few more people were arguing in hushed tones about holistic medicine. After Pastor Deben gave the morning service, he decided he would address the issue with the people.
"It says in Leviticus not to turn to mediums, and I have followed these words," said Pastor Deben.
Many of the congregation agreed with him as they talked loudly with each other. The head pastor thought Pastor Deben was doing a great job, but he didn't agree with where things were going. He sighed a long breath and approached the podium. The congregation became quiet as Pastor Johnson began to speak. "Brothers and sisters," he said, "you all have known me for almost 5 years now. But many of you don't know about my journey that brought me to this place." The people listened with curiosity, and so did Pastor Deben. Pastor Johnson continued, "I want to tell you all about my story on old medicine. It was believed by Native Americans that in ancient time, men were born with 2 hearts. One heart was good and the other was evil. The old ones would say that when a person was evil, it was because the evil heart dominated the good one. Those evil people used their gifts to hurt others. They even possessed the ability to turn themselves into animals. They were called Yapanos, skinwalkers. Today, it is still believed that some people are born with 2 hearts. The good-hearted people used their gifts to heal others, and they were called medicine people. Medicine and holy people had the power to oppose evil and to cure sickness that couldn't be cured by modern medicine. They used chants and healing ceremonies to restore wholeness to the body. Beauty within and the balance of the world around you add to your harmony. They call this beauty way, or walking in beauty. Medicine people in that healthy state are related to all life, to all phenomenon. They are related to the earth, the cosmos above, and to God. It is through these chants and healing songs that healing resonates into your soul. Now that you understand that, I can tell you my beginning. My name is Lieutenant David Johnston. I was in Vietnam. and I returned to my wife back in Arizona. But I brought something terrible back with me, something I was having a hard time living with. I tried to find answers to problems that were as invisible as air. I stayed drunk or took any drugs I could get my hands on, but sleep was my enemy. When I tried to sleep, the voices would come to me. They were the voices of the people I had killed in Vietnam. Sometimes I swear I could see them standing there, haunting me. Eventually, I lost my wife to these demons. She couldn't handle it anymore and left. I don't blame her. I found myself alone, and eventually, I became homeless. My skills from the military made it easy for me to live outside, but something still felt out of sync. One day, I accidentally got on the wrong bus and it took me to a different part of the city. From the window, I saw a huge gathering of people. Since I was basically exploring, I decided to get off the bus here and see what was going on at this event. It was a Native American powwow. I walked around seeing all the beautiful colors and how they danced. I learned that their dancing was a prayer, made visible. I had just finished eating when I noticed a gathering of people standing in line at a teepee. As I watched them, I noticed they were waiting to see a Native American man dressed in black with red trim. I saw how the people looked so sad or broken when they went to him. But when they came out, they were happy and hugged him. I decided to walk over there and talk to one of the people who was helping the man in the teepee. That is when I first heard about this healing man. They said he was just a man of God who people go to for prayers or for healing. I found myself wanting to meet this man, so I got in line and I was the very last one. I could see the native man come out of the teepee. He was getting tired, and I know the look of people who are feeling pain. I'm guessing that what he's doing is taking a lot out of him. It was getting close to sundown when my turn finally arrived. He looked at me, and he smiled. When his eyes looked into mine, I felt like he could see my soul. I was trying to think of what to say to him. The man put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Don't say anything. Just let me look." He raised both hands to the sides of my head and took a deep breath. He slowly let it out and then spoke to me. "You, my friend, have many ghosts hanging around you." My jaw fell open and my eyes widened. "You have taken their lives," he said, "and have bound their spirits to you. You need the ash ceremony." I was surprised that this man could see my past, and I asked him what the heck was an ash ceremony. He told me it was a ceremony that will break the bonds that hold us together. I know that what this man said was a bit hard to believe, but for some reason, I believed him. How else did this man know about the demons that were haunting me? The holy man gave me a phone number where I could reach him if I wanted to have the ceremony. I asked him how much this was going to cost me. The holy man said, "Haische never charge. There is no minimum donation. How can anyone charge you to wear your own shirt? All the medicines and all the prayers belong to the people." I had never heard anyone say that before. I put his number in my pocket, thanked him, and left. Many nights had passed, and I was awakened again by the demons in my sleep. I thought about the holy man, and I knew I couldn't continue to live like this. I decided in the morning I would give this man a call and make an appointment to visit with him. I learned that he lived in the White Mountains of Arizona, and I lived in Tucson. I bought a bus ticket for a small town called LaRue. When I got there, I was greeted by friends of the holy man. They fed me and took me to the White Mountain. At this meeting, I learned his name was Mako Maatala, but everyone called him Burro. We walked for a long time in the forest where his teepee was. He lived a very modest life, nothing fancy. Just being near him, I felt so peaceful. Burro explained to me what Beauty Way was, and then I told him I was ready for help. Burro smiled at me and said, "Let's begin." He took me to his teepee and laid me down on a blanket. His hands trembled as they hovered above my body. He used them like an X-ray machine. He told me where I had old injuries or where I was feeling pain. He was right every time. He sat me up and explained to me how Spider Old Woman had connected us all together. Then for 2 days and nights, neither of us ate or drank anything. Burro would sing chants and sometimes ring bells that were connected to a leather strip. On the night of the 2nd day, we were sitting by the fire when Burro pulled me up by my hands to my knees. While he was singing, he put his hand into the ashes of the fire pit and drew symbols on my face. To this day, I couldn't tell you what it was that he was saying in his language. But as he spoke, I became weaker. Burro, with one hand, held the back of my neck to keep me from falling. He used his other hand and placed it near my face. His words were getting louder as I felt him pull his hand away. Something deep inside me moved. I thought it was my spirit coming out of my face. Burro pulled again, and as he pulled away, I felt something huge leave my body, and I was empty. It was quiet as I felt the pain of my past disappear. I began to cry tears of joy. I cried so hard that all I could do was hold on to Burro and thank God. Burro smiled at me and told me these words that I will never forget. "Now get up and walk proper and tall in the eyes of your Creator." I slept good that night, the best I'd slept in so many years. When I woke up the next morning, I knew I would return home to my family in Virginia. I knew that I would become a minister and help people to walk in beauty. I got on the bus at LaRue, and instead of heading back to Tucson, I headed for the East Coast. That was the year 1993, and I've spoken to Burro just once since then. I told him how I became the head pastor at Whitechapel, but somehow I think he already knew. There had been something evil inside of me that I had recognized, and the way I felt after that ceremony was not darkness. There was nothing evil about Burro, and there was nothing evil about the old medicine.